Hello everyone, Wylock here, welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how I made this Umber Hulk miniature out of seashells. Sort of came together as a stream of consciousness type of thing, and I had a lot of fun with it, but a disclaimer, this is not cost effective compared to just buying a miniature, like say Nolzur's. This is intended for crafters like myself. We have all this stuff lying around and you can cobble something together. That's what happened here, so I didn't go out and buy anything to do this. Oh, and one other thing, a lesson learned right off the bat, it's slightly too big, so pick smaller seashells. This is a pouch of assorted seashells from the crafting store. Should also be available at like Walmart and places like that, anywhere that might have decorative vase filler. Going through it, I found this large one that I thought would make a good carapace, and then these smaller conch-shaped ones. Here's a Google image search for inspiration on an Umber Hulk, and I thought these shells would be good feet and hands. They can be cleaned up and modified with careful use of clippers. Paperclip. Take a paperclip and straighten it out, and then fill a shell with hot glue and secure the paperclip in it. Note there's gonna be a lot of glue in there, so it might take like 5 solid minutes to fully cool, and you gotta hold the paperclip steady. Oh, and here's a tip. Whenever you attach a paperclip with hot glue, take some pliers and bend the end of the clip 90 degrees. What this does is, when the hot glue cools, it prevents the paperclip from spinning in place, because it gives you 2 axes of control instead of 1. And maybe texture that exposed hot glue with the tip of the hot glue gun. At this point it was going to be fidgety to work with, so I went ahead and drew my 2-inch circular base on some chipboard, just to help give me some reference, and started to dry fit and bend the legs to the pose I wanted. Then I hot glued them to the carapace shell. Again, notice bending the ends of the paperclip 90 degrees for strength and stability. It is crucial to hold everything still until the hot glue is 100% cooled, not just cooled to the touch. It needs to be totally hardened. If there's movement during that process, the connection will end up weak. From there, cover the paperclips with hot glue to fill out the girth of the legs and arms. In my case, I've gotten this big open area here in the carapace, so rather than fill all that with hot glue, I took another small shell, trimmed it to fit, and hot glued it in place. Here he is so far, looking pretty good. I'm going to cut out the base and attach the feet to make this easier to work on. At this point, I decided instead of doing the arms, I would do the head first, so that I could be sure that the shoulder placement looks good in context. Here's a glass bead, the kind you see filling flower vases and stuff like that. Any color is fine, because we're going to go ahead and cover it totally in hot glue. And then texture up that hot glue by using the tip of the hot glue gun. For the mandibles, here's a toothpick. Take some pliers and partially break it, every 3 or 4 millimeters or so. This is easier shown than described, so you can just watch. And now cover that with hot glue to solidify the shape and give a nice gnarly texture at the same time. Not too much, just the bare minimum to cover up the wood all around. And now remember how we did the teeth back in episode 126 with the beholder? Nip the last 3 millimeters or so of a toothpick. Use the hot glue gun to reheat the glue on the mandible and attach the tooth with tweezers. And once all the teeth are attached, again use the nozzle to kind of tease hot glue up around the base of each tooth and really get them solidified in that hot glue. Then just a small dab to attach the mandible to the head. 2 of them to be exact. And for the eyes I used flatback rhinestones. Again, these can be found at any crafting store or party store. Then hot glue it onto the body wherever you like. Followed by the arms, and again bulk those up with layered beads of hot glue. Finishing touches, the claws. Take those toothpick remnants from the teeth earlier, so they're missing the sharpest point, right? Well, chop the next centimeter, and then just like the mandible, partially break it in one spot. And as before, cover that with hot glue, and then attach to the feet and hands. Prime time, I use Gray Krylon Matte Primer. From here, you paint them up how you like and according to your ability. In a moment, I'll walk you through what I did. But first, real quick, the usual drama. Go ahead and like this video if in fact you liked it. I'd love to have you as a subscriber, and so on and so on. If my stuff is useful to you and you want to support the channel totally free, consider using my Amazon affiliate link in the video description below. Totally free to you. I just get a small kickback for having referred you. And for all you 3D printers out there, Wylock's Crafting Vids is sponsored by Heroes Horde, which has an excellent range of high-quality models, including but not limited to all True Tiles lines, which are OpenLock compatible. Also, check out my modules over on the DM's Guild, and remember, $3 patrons get free copies of all my releases. For the base coat, I'm going to use, fittingly, Monster Brown. This is a lighter tan sort of brown. Into the airbrush with a couple drops of Flow Improver and water. Remember, starter tips for airbrushing are back in episode 90. And then thin applications to give it a nice solid brown. Then with a bone or cream color, again with the airbrush, I did some zenithal highlighting. So fire at the model with the airbrush from only one direction, usually top down, and don't get too trigger happy. In short order, you get a lot of detail that automatically starts to pop out. Alternatively, you could just do a dry brush using downward strokes only. Now notice this is all kind of a light color, kind of dusty. That's because I knew I was about to give it a dark brown wash. Whenever you're going to use a wash, you should use a brighter base color than you think appropriate, because washes bring down the brightness a lot. So with everything nice and dry, take a brown wash like GW's Agrax Earthshade or Army Painter Strong Tone, and wash the entire model with it. Let the detail do the work for you. Here it is wet. It's going to take a good full hour to totally dry. And here it is dry. Now I want the forearms and feet to stand out a bit, so I colored them with a rich chocolate type of brown. And then back to that bone color with a dry brush. Oh, a little tip I picked up watching Vince Venturnella on YouTube. Cheap makeup brushes are perfect for dry brushing. So I do the whole model to pick out highlights, and at the same time solid coverage on the claws and teeth. At this point I felt it was a little too sandstone. The overall look wasn't rich enough. So I took some Army Painter Flesh Wash, which is basically identical to GW Reikland Flesh Shade. It's really just a reddish brownish sepia, and washed the entire model with it to tie everything together. Once that's dry, all that's left are the eyes. Now this thing is supposed to cause confusion, so I think the eyes should have a glossy, hypnotic look to them. I'm going to use 3 shades of green and white. Start by base coating the eyes with dark green. Remember, 2 thin coats. Then a plain green, painted in a crescent shape in the bottom right third of the eye, like this. And then you sort of blend the edge into the dark green with your brush. This will take some experimentation, and there's lots of great tutorials out there on blending, but basically I just do micro swipes across the edge and kind of taper it in there. And this is what you get. Then with lime green, just hit the very lower right curve, and again kind of taper it up. So you get this. And finally, with plain white and your best tipped brush, put a tiny dot toward the upper left. So the intended effect is a glassy green hemisphere for an eye. So here's some close-ups of the final product. Again, he's a little bit too large, should have used smaller seashells. Oh, and for the base, I just painted that straight black, easy. Anyway, you guys really seemed to respond to the ping pong ball beholder last time, so I figured I would try and do another found item miniature. On that note, if you have some suggestions or ideas, leave a comment below and I'll see what I can do in the future. Because honestly, I'm having a lot of fun with these. I'm going to go put this guy away for next week's session. If you liked this particular project, here's 2 more that you should go check out right now. Also, enjoy this community showcase. And don't forget to subscribe and click that bell reminder icon. I am Wylock, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.